The repair drone's warning light flashed an angry red as Aria Winters pushed it beyond its rated operational distance. The 23-year-old engineer ignored the alert, her dark eyes fixed on the experimental scanner's readings. She'd spent months developing this detection system, combining quantum resonance patterns with deep space gravimetric analysis. Now, floating at the edge of Europa Station's maintenance zone, she was about to prove her theories correct. Just a little further, she muttered, adjusting the drone's position using her neural interface. The holographic display showed increasing interference patterns, exactly what she'd predicted would appear around naturally occurring spatial anomalies. But there was something else, a signature that didn't match any known phenomenon in her database. The comm panel crackled. "Winters, your shift ended 20 minutes ago. Return to dock immediately." The gruff voice belonged to Chief Thompson, her supervisor and mentor. 5 more minutes, Aria replied, fingers dancing across the control surface. "I'm picking up something unusual out here." "That's what you said last week when you nearly froze your coolant lines chasing sensor ghosts. Get back inside before dash." The rest of his warning was lost as Aria's scanner erupted with new data. Through the drone's viewport, space itself seemed to shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. A massive shape emerged from the distortion, a vessel, but unlike anything in human records. Its hull was composed of overlapping plates that resembled dragon scales, each one reflecting the starlight with an iridescent sheen. "Chief," Aria whispered, "you're going to want to see this." The vessel hung motionless against the star field, nearly 3 kilometers in length. Despite its size, it hadn't appeared on any of Europa Station's standard sensors. Only Aria's experimental equipment had detected its presence. As she guided her drone closer, she noticed damage along the ship's hull, not from weapons, but from extreme age. This ship had been drifting in space for centuries, maybe millennia. "Winters, I'm getting some strange readings from your location." "What exactly am I looking at?" "Something impossible," she replied, maneuvering toward what appeared to be an access port. "The hull composition doesn't match any known materials. The architecture is completely alien, but..." She paused, double-checking her readings. "There's still power flowing through some systems." "Aria, wait for backup. We need to follow first contact protocols dash." "It's been here all along, Chief. If it was dangerous, we'd know by now." She'd already sealed her suit and was preparing to exit the drone. "Besides, my scanner shows an atmospheric breach. Any biological threats would have been eliminated by vacuum exposure." The access port was larger than she'd initially estimated, easily 20 meters across. As she approached, patterns etched into the hull began to glow with a soft blue light. Her neural interface tingled, picking up data streams she couldn't interpret. "Chief, are you seeing this telemetry?" Static was her only answer. The interference that had hidden the ship from standard sensors was now blocking her communications. Aria knew she should retreat, wait for backup. It was the sensible thing to do. But she'd spent years studying theoretical xenotech, preparing for exactly this moment. The chance to be the first human to set foot on an alien vessel was too tempting to resist. The access port's outer doors had been frozen open by some ancient malfunction. Aria activated her suit's magnetic boots and carefully entered what appeared to be an airlock chamber. Her helmet lights revealed walls covered in flowing script that seemed to shift and change as she watched. As she moved deeper into the ship, her neural interface began receiving increasingly complex data streams. The sensation was unlike anything she'd experienced before, not just raw data, but concepts and images that seemed to form directly in her mind. The corridor led to a vast chamber that defied conventional engineering. The walls curved organically, yet were clearly artificial, with streams of light pulsing beneath their translucent surface. In the center of the room, suspended in a field of shifting energy, was what appeared to be a suit of armor. But armor wasn't quite the right word. The object was more like a second skin made of liquid metal, its surface rippling with patterns of light that matched the pulses in the chamber walls. As Arya approached, her neural interface erupted with activity. Genetic sequence analyzed. Neural pattern compatible. Initiating synchronization protocol. The voice in her mind was neither male nor female, but carried an weight of age and knowledge that made Arya's breath catch in her throat. The energy field around the suit expanded, enveloping her before she could retreat. "Wait," she gasped. "What are you, Dash?" "I am the Sentinel Interface, last guardian of the Stellaris legacy. You bear markers we believed lost to time. The convergence approaches, and you are now our only hope." The liquid metal of the suit began to flow, merging with her environmental suit and then through it, bonding directly with her skin. The sensation should have been terrifying, but instead felt natural, like remembering how to do something she'd always known but somehow forgotten. Knowledge flooded her mind, the history of a civilization that had achieved technological transcendence, only to face a threat that defied their mastery of physics and energy. The Stellaris hadn't vanished, they'd gone into hiding, seeding the galaxy with their technology, waiting for species to evolve that could continue their work. As the integration completed, Arya felt her consciousness expand. The ship's systems connected directly to her mind, revealing capabilities that humans had only dreamed of achieving. But with that knowledge came understanding of the responsibility she'd inherited. The Stellaris hadn't hidden their ships and technology to prevent lesser species from accessing them. They'd hidden them to protect the galaxy from forces that would stop at nothing to possess their power. Forces that would soon know their security had been breached. Arya felt the suit's neural connection solidify, becoming an extension of her own nervous system. Through it, she could sense the vast empty space around the ship, the distant heat signatures of Europa Station, and something else. New contacts appearing at the edge of her enhanced perception. "Chief Thompson," she broadcast on all frequencies, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her system. "We're about to have company. And I don't think they're here to welcome us to the neighborhood." The approaching ships emerged from FTL like predators breaking cover, sleek, dark vessels bearing no identification markings. Through her enhanced senses, Arya could feel their weapons powering up, their targeting systems scanning the ancient Stellaris vessel. They moved with practiced precision, forming a containment pattern that suggested military training. "They serve the Horizon Corporation," the Sentinel Interface informed her. "They have found fragments of our technology before. But never a fully integrated combat system." "Combat system?" Arya's eyes widened as new information cascaded through her mind. The suit wasn't just an interface, it was the most advanced weapons platform ever created. "I'm an engineer, not a soldier. I build things, I don't dash. Your neural patterns suggest otherwise. You possess both the technical understanding and tactical creativity needed for optimal integration." The corporate vessels launched their first wave of boarding pods. Arya felt the ancient ship systems responding to her thoughts, activating defense protocols that had lain dormant for centuries. But the knowledge flowing through her neural link showed her a better option. "Let them think the ship is defenseless," she whispered. "We need to understand what they know." The first boarding pod breached the hull 2 decks below. Through the ship's internal sensors, Arya watched armed troops emerge in formations of 4. Their armor was cutting-edge human military tech, but compared to her Stellaris suit, they might as well have been wearing cardboard. "This is Commander Marcus Reed of Horizon Corporate Security," a voice broadcast on all frequencies. "We have jurisdiction over all Xenotech discoveries in this sector. Stand down and prepare to be detained." Arya accessed the ship's communication systems. "This is Europa Station Engineer Arya Winters. You're violating multiple international treaties regarding first contact protocols and corporate sovereignty." A harsh laugh answered her. "Look around you, Engineer Winters. Do you see any government vessels rushing to protect Europa Station's claim?" We've had arrangements with your supervisors for years. Why do you think you were assigned to that particular repair sector? The revelation stung, but the Sentinel interface quickly provided context. Many human organizations have sought our technology. Some wish to protect it, others to exploit it. All of them underestimate the responsibility it carries. Through the ship sensors, Arya tracked 3 more boarding parties making their way toward her position. Their movements were disciplined, but she could sense their anxiety. They'd expected to find an empty vessel, not an active presence. "Commander Reed," she broadcast again, "I'm detecting unstable energy readings from your weapons. The ship's hull contains elements that react, unpredictably to certain frequencies. For your team's safety, I suggest dash." "Save your concerns," Reed interrupted. "We've been studying Stellaris tech for decades. Our containment protocols dash." "He speaks partial truth," the interface noted. "They have found fragments, but never understood them. Their arrogance will be their undoing." Arya felt the suit responding to her rising anxiety, channels of energy flowing through circuits that merged seamlessly with her nervous system. The approaching soldiers' biosigns appeared as bright points in her awareness. She could disable them with a thought. But that wasn't who she was. There had to be a better way. "Interface," she subvocalized, "show me the ship's maintenance systems." A new layer of data unfolded in her mind. The vessel's internal architecture wasn't just advanced, it was alive, in a sense. Conduits of energy and matter could be redirected, sections could be reconfigured. The ship wasn't just a vessel, it was a single vast machine that could transform itself at will. "Perfect," Arya smiled, her engineer's mind already formulating a plan. "They want to play capture the flag? Let's give them a maze to run through." With subtle manipulations of the ship's systems, she began altering its internal layout. Corridors shifted, doorways sealed and reopened, gravity plates activated and deactivated. The boarding parties found themselves separated, disoriented, and increasingly frustrated. "What's happening?" One soldier's panicked voice cut through the comm channels. "The layout doesn't match our scans." "Maintain discipline," Reed ordered, but Arya could hear the uncertainty in his voice. "All units converge on the central chamber. Use of lethal force is authorized." "They grow desperate," the interface observed. "Desperate humans are dangerous. So are desperate engineers," Arya replied, initiating the next phase of her plan. The ship's atmospheric systems came online, filling specific sections with a dense, non-toxic fog that played havoc with their armor's sensors. In the confusion, she began transmitting data packets directly to their neural interfaces, nothing harmful, just snippets of Stellaris historical records. Let them see what they were really dealing with. The effect was immediate. Several soldiers stopped in their tracks, overwhelmed by visions of a civilization that had achieved what humanity had only dreamed of. Others began arguing with their commanders, questioning their orders. "Enough." Reed's voice cracked with fury. "All units switch to analog systems. Shut down neural interfaces. She's hacking our dash." The ship's external sensors screamed a warning. New contacts were emerging from FTL, larger vessels, bearing the unmistakable signatures of Earth Fleet military ships. "The game changes," the interface noted. "But is there a rival fortune or further complication?" Before Arya could respond, a familiar voice cut through all frequencies. "This is Chief Thompson of Europa Station to all vessels. By authority of the Earth Fleet Xenoarchaeological Division, this area is now under military quarantine. Commander Reed, power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." Arya felt a surge of relief, followed quickly by suspicion. "Chief? You knew about this ship all along, didn't you?" "Not now, Winters," Thompson replied, his gruff voice carrying a note of pride. "You've kicked over one hell of an anthill. We've got a lot to discuss, but first, let's deal with our uninvited guests. The corporate vessels began powering up their engines, preparing to flee. But Arya had accessed enough of the Stellaris ship's systems to know they wouldn't get far. The real question was what would happen when Earth fleet discovered exactly what she'd become. The true test approaches, the interface whispered in her mind. Will you trust those who hid the truth, or forge your own path? Arya watched the Earth fleet vessels move into position, their weapons trained on the corporate ships. She had seconds to decide whether to reveal the full extent of her transformation. But as the knowledge of the Stellaris continued to unfold in her mind, she realized this was just the beginning of a much larger conflict. The real question wasn't who to trust, it was who could handle the truth about what was coming. The Earth fleet quarantine zone blazed with activity as research vessels swarmed around the ancient Stellaris ship. Arya observed them from the vessel's command center, their movements appearing as bright threads in her enhanced perception. The Sentinel suit had fully integrated with her nervous system, transforming her understanding of space, time, and energy. You're telling me you knew about the Stellaris all along? Arya faced Chief Thompson across a holographic display of the sector. Her mentor's weathered face showed equal parts concern and fascination as he studied her transformed appearance. The suit had evolved into something that looked more like liquid starlight than armor, shifting and flowing with her movements. Not everything, Thompson admitted. 20 years ago, we found fragments of their technology. Enough to know they were out there, and that we weren't the only ones looking. He gestured at the corporate vessels now under fleet custody. Horizon was just the tip of the iceberg. Every major power has been searching for functional Stellaris tech. He speaks truth, the interface confirmed. But he does not know what truly hunts us. The Stellaris didn't just hide their technology, Arya said, watching Thompson's reaction carefully. They were running from something. Something that dash. The ship's sensors screamed a warning. Space itself seemed to shudder as new energy signatures erupted at the edge of the system. The patterns were unlike anything in human records, but the Sentinel interface recognized them instantly. The Void Heralds. They have detected our awakening. Through the viewport, Arya watched as massive shapes emerged from what looked like tiers in reality. The vessels, if they could be called that, were organic and geometric at the same time, their surfaces shifting between states of matter in ways that defied physics. What the hell are those? Thompson breathed, staring at the sensor displays. The reason the Stellaris disappeared, Arya answered, accessing deeper layers of the interface's knowledge. They evolved beyond normal space, beyond physical form. But they weren't the first to achieve that transformation. The Earth fleet vessels moved into defensive formations, their weapons charging. But Arya could sense their vulnerability. Human technology was like stone tools compared to what was approaching. All vessels, fall back to Europa Station, she broadcast. Your weapons will be useless against them. Winters, what are you? Thompson started, but she cut him off. The Void Heralds were the first civilization to achieve technological transcendence, she explained, the knowledge flowing through her neural link. But the process drove them insane. They saw physical existence itself as an abomination, something to be corrected. The Stellaris fought them to a stalemate, but couldn't find a way to defeat them completely. So they hid their technology, Thompson realized. Waited for other species to evolve that might find a different solution. The Herald's vessels began emanating waves of energy that made reality itself ripple. Arya felt the Sentinel suit responding, activating defenses that existed partially outside normal spacetime. The interface flooded her mind with tactical data, showing her possibilities that human military doctrine had never imagined. Chief, she said quietly, get everyone out of here. I'll buy you time. Like hell you will, Thompson growled. Whatever those things are, you can't face them alone. I'm not alone. Arya smiled as the ship's systems fully synchronized with her neural patterns. And I'm not just fighting with Stellaris technology, I'm thinking with it. The suit doesn't just give me access to advanced weapons. It lets me understand problems the way they did. The nearest Herald vessel launched what appeared to be a biological missile, its surface writhing with impossible geometries. But Arya was already moving. The Stellaris ship responded to her thoughts, its hull reconfiguring into new shapes as energy coursed through systems that had lain dormant for centuries. Their weakness isn't physical, she muttered, analyzing the sensor data through her enhanced perception. It's in the phase variance of their dimensional transitions. If I can destabilize their quantum coherence. She reached out with the ship's systems, probing the strange physics that allowed the heralds to exist between states of reality. Their technology was incredibly advanced, but it followed patterns. And patterns could be disrupted. The first herald vessel shuddered as Arya's countermeasures took effect. Its surface began to crystallize, locked into a single state of matter. But two more ships were already moving to flank her position, their weapons preparing to fire. All fleet vessels, clear the area, Thompson ordered, finally accepting the situation. Fall back to minimum safe distance and prepare to coordinate with Engineer Winters. They cannot help, the interface warned. This battle must be fought on multiple levels of reality simultaneously. Maybe not directly, Arya replied, an idea forming. But human unpredictability might be exactly what we need. Chief, remember that resonance cascade problem we had in the station's power grid last year? The one that nearly blew out half our systems? What about it? I need you to recreate it. On a much bigger scale. Thompson's eyes widened as he understood her plan. That's insane. The energy feedback could tear apart half the system. Exactly, Arya grinned. These entities exist in multiple states simultaneously. But if we force them to interact with enough chaotic energy patterns, we might be able to disrupt their ability to maintain those states, Thompson finished. Fleet Command isn't going to like this. Fleet Command doesn't understand what they're dealing with, Arya replied, watching as more Herald vessels emerged from their dimensional rifts. The Stellaris tried to fight them conventionally. That's why they lost. We need to try something they'd never expect. The interface processed her strategy, analyzing possibilities that merged human intuition with Stellaris computational power. Your approach is unconventional. The probability of success is difficult to calculate. But perhaps that is precisely why it might work. Arya felt the ship's weapons charging as she prepared to implement her desperate plan. The Void Heralds had spent eons perfecting their existence between realities. But they'd never faced an opponent that combined Stellaris technology with human improvisation. Chief, she broadcast, start your power surge. Let's show these transcended entities that humanity still has a few tricks they haven't seen. The battle that followed would rewrite humanity's understanding of physics, technology, and their place in the universe. But more importantly, it would prove that sometimes the best solutions come not from raw power or advanced technology, but from the ability to think in ways that no one else had considered. The Void Heralds were about to learn that evolution didn't always follow predictable paths. Reality rippled like a heat mirage as Europa Station's power grid launched into catastrophic overload. Arya watched through her enhanced senses as the cascade of energy began to interact with the quantum fields maintaining the Void Herald's dimensional stability. The alien vessels shuddered, their impossible geometries fluctuating as they struggled to maintain coherence across multiple states of existence. Power surge at 200% of theoretical maximum, Thompson reported, his voice tense. The station's containment systems are about to fail. That's exactly what we want, Arya replied, directing the Stellaris ship systems to amplify the chaotic energy patterns. Their technology relies on perfect quantum coherence. We're introducing so much uncertainty into local spacetime that they can't maintain their transdimensional state. The nearest Herald vessel was already showing signs of strain, its surface crystallizing in patches as sections became locked into single states of reality. But the other ships were adapting, their biological mechanical systems evolving to compensate for the disruption. They learn quickly, the interface warned. This strategy alone will not be sufficient. It's not meant to be, Arya smiled, implementing the next phase of her plan. It's just meant to keep them occupied while we prepare the real surprise. Chief, remember how you found me? The experimental scanner I was testing? The quantum resonance detector? What about it? It wasn't just detecting anomalies, Arya explained, her fingers dancing across holographic controls as she accessed the scanner's core programming through her neural link. It was measuring the fundamental frequency of spacetime itself. The heralds exist between realities because they can match that frequency perfectly. But what happens if we change the tune? Understanding dawned in Thompson's eyes. You're going to try to alter the basic quantum signature of this entire sector of space? Not alter it, Arya corrected. Harmonize it. The Stellaris tried to fight the heralds directly. But what if the real solution isn't about fighting at all? Through the ship sensors, she could see the Void Herald's vessels beginning to coordinate their attacks. They were adapting to the chaotic energy, learning to use it to their advantage. But they still didn't understand what she was really attempting. All fleet vessels, she broadcast, prepare for extreme gravitational distortion. Chief, route all remaining power through the station's quantum field generators. We're about to attempt something that's either brilliant or completely insane. The distinction between brilliance and insanity, the interface noted, is often merely a matter of success rate. The Stellaris ship's systems merged with Arya's consciousness as she began implementing her plan. The vessel's hull transformed, becoming a lattice of energy conduits that reached out into space itself. Through her enhanced perception, Arya could see the underlying structure of reality, the quantum foam of spacetime that the heralds had learned to manipulate. But where they sought to exist between states, she saw the possibility of something new. They think transcendence means abandoning physical form, she muttered, directing the ship's energy into precise patterns. But what if it's not about escaping reality? What if it's about understanding it completely? The first herald vessel launched an attack, its weapons bending space itself. But Arya was ready. The Stellaris ship's energy lattice caught the distortion, channeling it through the quantum resonance patterns she'd established. Instead of destroying, it began to create. New structures of light and energy blossomed in space, following the mathematical patterns Arya had discovered with her scanner. They weren't weapons or shields, they were demonstrations. Proof that physical reality wasn't a limitation to be transcended, but a foundation to be built upon. They are responding, the interface reported. Their attack patterns are changing. They are curious. Of course they are, Arya smiled. They spent eons trying to escape what they saw as the prison of physical existence. But they never stopped to really understand it. Chief, are you seeing this? The herald vessels had ceased their attack. Their impossible geometries were shifting, but not in preparation for combat. They were adapting their forms to study the patterns Arya was creating. The resonance cascade is stabilizing, Thompson reported, wonder in his voice. It's like they're learning to sync with it instead of fighting it. The Stellaris thought the only options were to fight or hide, Arya explained, continuing to weave her patterns of energy and mathematics. But they were working from the same assumption as the heralds, that transcendence meant leaving physical reality behind. What if the real evolution is learning to exist in all states simultaneously? Not fighting against the limits of reality, but understanding them so completely that they stop being limits at all? The largest herald vessel was transforming, its surface flowing into configurations that mimicked the patterns Arya was creating. Through her neural link, she sensed attempts at communication, not in words or images, but in pure mathematical concepts. They are beginning to understand, the interface confirmed. This may be why our creators could not find a solution. They sought to defend against beings they saw as enemies, when what was really needed was to teach those who had lost their way. Sometimes the best way to win a fight is to show your opponent a better path, Arya agreed. She reached out through the ship's systems, responding to the herald's mathematical language with her own equations, demonstrations of how physical reality could be understood and transformed without being abandoned. The space around Europa Station had become a symphony of light and energy, a demonstration of physics that went beyond both human and herald understanding. But more importantly, it had become a dialogue. "Chief," Arya broadcast, "I think we need to convene an emergency session of the Earth Fleet Xenoscience Division. We're about to have some very interesting guests, and they have a lot to learn about the reality they've been trying to escape." The battle had ended not with destruction, but with the beginning of understanding. And as Arya prepared to bridge the gap between three vastly different civilizations, she realized that this had been the true purpose of the Stellaris legacy all along. They hadn't hidden their technology to keep it safe. They'd hidden it until someone could show both humanity and the heralds a new way forward, not through transcendence or dominance, but through genuine understanding. 1 month after the convergence at Europa Station, Arya stood in the newly constructed interaction chamber, watching as humans and heralds worked together to understand the universe in ways neither species had imagined possible. The chamber itself was a marvel of hybrid technology, part physical structure, part quantum field manipulator, allowing beings that existed in different states of reality to communicate and collaborate. "The corporate representatives are getting nervous," Thompson said, joining her at the observation window. "They're worried about losing control of the patents they filed on the Stellaris fragments." Arya smiled, the sentinel suit shimmering with subtle patterns of light. "They're about to have much bigger concerns. Watch this." She reached out through her neural link, connecting with the herald entity that had introduced itself as pattern seeker through realities. Together, they began manipulating the quantum fields in the chamber, creating a display that made visible the underlying structure of spacetime itself. "We've been thinking about technology all wrong," Arya explained as the demonstration unfolded. "Human engineering tries to impose order on nature. The heralds tried to transcend it completely. But the Stellaris were starting to understand a different approach before they vanished, working with the fundamental patterns that already exist." The display showed how reality itself was built on layers of interconnected patterns, from quantum fluctuations to galactic structures. But more importantly, it showed how these patterns could be guided and enhanced rather than forced or escaped. "They're not just teaching us new technology," Thompson realized, watching as human scientists worked alongside beings that existed partially outside normal spacetime. "They're teaching us a new way of thinking about existence itself." "The cycle completes," the interface commented in Arya's mind. "Our creators sought to preserve their knowledge until those who could truly understand it emerged. But even they did not foresee that understanding would flow in multiple directions. The herald entities had proven to be not conquerors or destroyers, but a species that had lost its way in pursuit of transcendence. Their aggression had come from frustration, centuries of existing between states of reality, unable to fully leave the physical world behind, but unwilling to fully exist within it. The Horizon Corporation's ships are approaching the outer marker, a fleet officer reported. They're demanding access to the chamber under the terms of corporate scientific rights. Let them come, Arya said calmly. They need to see this too. Everyone does. Through her enhanced senses, she could feel the quantum fields shifting as more herald entities phased into the chamber. But now their transitions were smooth, controlled, they were learning to exist in harmony with physical space rather than trying to escape it. You've changed, Thompson observed, studying her carefully. The suit isn't just equipment anymore, is it? Neither is this, Arya gestured at her human form. We've all been thinking in such limited terms, organic versus mechanical, physical versus transcendent. The real evolution isn't about leaving anything behind. It's about understanding how it all works together. The Sentinel suit had evolved with her understanding, becoming less of a tool and more of an expression of her comprehension of reality's underlying principles. She wasn't just wearing Stellaris technology, she was learning to think in ways that went beyond traditional human concepts of existence. "The corporate representatives have landed," the fleet officer announced. "They're bringing their legal team." "Good." Arya smiled. "Because we're about to demonstrate something that's going to make their patent claims irrelevant." She stepped into the chamber, her form shifting slightly as she adjusted her quantum state to better communicate with the herald entities. Together, they began constructing a new kind of interface, one that would allow any human to perceive and interact with the deeper layers of reality. The Stellaris didn't hide their technology to keep it safe, she explained as corporate executives and lawyers filed into the observation area. "They hid it until we were ready to understand that the real power isn't in the technology itself. It's in learning to see the universe as it actually is." The chamber filled with patterns of light and energy as human scientists worked alongside herald entities, each learning from the other's perspective. The corporate lawyers' prepared statements died on their lips as they watched physical laws being not broken, but understood at a fundamental level. "We're not giving you access to Stellaris technology," Arya announced to the assembled observers. "We're offering you something far more valuable, the chance to learn why it works. The patents you're fighting over are like trying to claim ownership of arithmetic. The real value isn't in controlling the knowledge. It's in understanding it well enough to build something new." The pattern completes, the interface noted with satisfaction. 3 approaches to existence: human ingenuity, herald transcendence, and Stellaris wisdom, combining to form something greater than any could achieve alone. As the demonstration continued, Arya felt a deep sense of rightness. The Stellaris had known that their technology alone wouldn't be enough to prevent the herald's aggression. What was needed was a completely new perspective, one that could only come from a species young enough to question everything, yet advanced enough to understand the answers. "Chief," she said quietly, "send word to Fleet Command. Tell them to prepare for a new era of human development. We're not just making first contact or acquiring new technology. We're learning to see reality itself in a whole new way." The universe, Arya realized, had been waiting for a species that could bridge the gap between physical existence and transcendence, not by choosing one over the other, but by understanding how they were all part of the same grand pattern. The Stellaris legacy wasn't a weapon or a shield. It was a key to understanding. And humanity's real journey was just beginning.